Hello, today I have to share with you a very special video. I will be unveiling my submission to the Dead by Daylight Cosmetic competition and discussing the process behind my entry, as well as what inspired the design. First, let me show you the cosmetic. As I spent a painfully excessive amount of time perfecting this design, I'm going to give it an appropriately dramatic reveal. So without further ado, here is my entry for the Singularity. Sanguine circuitry. As you can see, I went above and beyond with the detail of my entry. I know that this level of work is not necessary for concept art, but Hux is my main and favorite killer. I wanted to create a piece that both did him justice and that I could be personally proud of. Work on this design actually began months ago. The first draft was done in ballpoint pen on loose leaf paper, back in March. When I made these sketches, I wasn't thinking about the cosmetic contest whatsoever. I've always enjoyed designing clothing, which translates easily into an enjoyment of designing cosmetics for video game characters that I like. Much of my existing DVD fan art includes my own cosmetic designs, and I've even talked about them before in another video. So initially the design you see here was just meant to be another personal project. It was also a project that I did not continue working on until summer came around and people started talking about the cosmetic competition. I considered refining and entering another Singularity cosmetic concept that I had previously shared a sketch of to my social medias. Devil of the Deep Wood, a fusion between Hux and the many deadly life forms found in the Dvarka Deep Wood. While I still like the design and might one day produce a cleaner illustration of it, I felt that the concept simply wasn't unique enough to enter into the competition. I entertained other ideas, but eventually returned to those sketches I made back in March. I'm acutely aware of why I was drawn to finishing this design, and it's something I feel is worth sharing with you all, as this knowledge might help you better understand the cosmetic. You see, many years ago, 16 to be exact, episode 9 of Transformers Animated, Along Came a Spider, first aired.
Welcome! I am Count Dracubac. I want to drink your motor oil.
I already had a gigantic crush on Bumblebee, so seeing him dress up as a vampire in the show's designated Halloween episode forever cemented vampires as cool in my brain. The episode also features the debut of the femme fatale Decepticon Black Arachnia.
You wouldn't hurt a helpless female bot. Now would you, boys?
Over the course of the episode, it is slowly revealed that she was once the Autobot Elita 1 and a former friend to Optimus Prime. Optimus's memories recount the exploration of a defunct Decepticon warship that goes awry when they discover it is filled with not just Energon, but also giant alien spiders. While trying to escape both the exploding Energon and spiders, Elita becomes trapped in the wreckage and Optimus is forced to leave her behind.
Alita!
Using her powers of mimicry, Elita desperately tries to find a way to survive the encounter. Doing this results in her becoming infected with the spider's venom, and subsequently mutated into a techno-organic fusion of Cybertronian and alien spider. Unlike Hux, Black Arachnia is tormented by her identity as a techno-organic, but nevertheless, there are many aspects of her character and story that remind me of him. Both she and Count Dracubot Bumblebee served as an inspiration for me while designing this cosmetic. More than that, they provided the core reason behind my choice to go through with its creation. What better way to honor my robotic childhood crushes than through a cosmetic design for a robot I've come to fancy in my adulthood? So with my theme chosen and my first draft done, the arduous process of refining the cosmetic began. Between the first and second draft, there were many changes. The original cosmetic was far too cluttered, so when creating the second draft in CSP, I strove to be more prudent about what elements to include. But I was not satisfied with this second design either. Upon re-examining Hux's in-game model, I had realized that the way I was drawing the blood tank resting on his arm was not anatomically possible. Furthermore, there were still parts of the sketch that felt too cluttered or incomplete. The crystals on his head, for example, drew attention away from the crown of bones because they too are light in color. And, well, I just didn't feel that the theme of vampire was clear enough in this second draft. I needed to alter or add elements to the design that would convey to viewers that this is unambiguously a vampire-themed cosmetic. And this is what I came up with. The tank of blood now sits properly on his arm, while the crown of bones is kept asymmetrical to help draw the viewer's eye in. You'll also notice many new elements in this iteration of the skin. This is because between the second and third draft, I made major decisions about key features of the cosmetic. I chose 3 primary sources of visual inspiration for the various components of Hux's body. I then chose a color scheme that would help reinforce and unify what those components are trying to communicate. 3 primary sources of visual inspiration are 1. The classic vampire. Building off of my original inspiration of Bumblebee's Count Dracula costume, I focused on using elements of a vampire's classic appearance, as it is a rather simple and highly recognizable look that efficiently gets the point across. Large fangs, a red cape collar, and various small references to vampire bats all serve to convey the image of a classic vampire without creating too much distraction from the unique robotic elements of the blood tank and tubing. 2. The skeleton. Skeletal characteristics were included in my design right from the very first draft, but amplifying their presence was crucial for the final draft. As Hux lacks the features that are typically altered in humanoids to convey undeath, I had to come up with another way to alter his techno-organic form so that he appears undead. By including more skeletal components and keeping his frame very thin overall, I feel that I successfully achieved this undead look. 3. The spider. Since Black Arachnia is one of my original sources of inspiration, it only made sense to amplify the spider-like features in this cosmetic. Spiders might not be vampiric, but there are many aspects of their appearance and behaviors that are reminiscent of the vampire. Their physical features are also incredibly useful for creating a character that is distinctly meant to be recognized as a predator, which is exactly what I wanted from my cosmetic. As for the color scheme, I decided to keep the colors typically associated with vampires: black, white, and red. Color is incredibly important in character design and can tell the viewer a lot about a character. Transformers is honestly one of the best examples I can think of where color design is used to help viewers understand characters' alignments and personalities. By using a simple color scheme composed of the colors traditionally associated with vampires, I feel that the skeletal and arachnid characteristics of the design are better unified with the vampiric characteristics, and therefore do not feel out of place. Additionally, the black, white, and gray keep the overall saturation of the design low, which helps emphasize the undead nature of a vampire. More saturated elements, like the blood, stand out against the desaturated elements and help to stress just how deadly Hux is. Highly saturated elements, like Hux's optics and the crystals on his back, are kept to a minimum so as not to detract from the undead look of the cosmetic. This is why in the final design, the bright red lights that decorated his body in the third draft are heavily reduced in number. And by having very few bright saturated elements in this final design, Hux's optics gain this hypnotic quality. Really, it's hard to look anywhere else first. And this is perfect because across the years and years of vampire-related media that exists, the intense hypnotic quality of a vampire's gaze is an incredibly common trope. There were other things that I changed from the third draft to the final design. Most changes were simple alterations made to enhance the design's overall cleanliness, but there are a few bigger changes that I made, the biggest probably being Hux's scythe. I redesigned Hux's scythe because I felt it was a little too simple, and because unlike his cannon arm, which has the blood pump system attached to it, the scythe doesn't have any implied function unique to the cosmetic. Hux modifies his body to make himself stronger, so it only makes sense that a vampiric Hux would alter his form to collect blood as efficiently as possible. Now, while his scythe already possessed makeshift fangs for more aggressive tearing of flesh, or for the injection of paralytic venom, it had nothing to catch any of the blood he'd be spilling. Initially, I tried to construct some kind of suction pump atop the blade so that the blood could be cleaned off and sent up to his body via tubes, similar to the device on his cannon arm. Unfortunately, this would not work because the clunkiness of a suction pump would weigh down the thin skeletal frame of his scythe arm, and it looked boring for both arms to share too many similar details. Fortunately, within nature there are disgusting little beasts that have evolved to perform this exact function. I chose the vampire fish, or lamprey, as inspiration for a collection of fleshy tubes that grow over Hux's scythe. They sit close to the edge of the blade, toothy maws wide open, eager for blood to be spilt so they can slurp it up. Another detail of Hux's sidearm that I improved is the flesh that spiderwebs across it. In the third draft, the webs of flesh cover each segment of the arm, but it is not clear enough that they are meant to be connected. Because this arm lacks mechanical bulk or tubing, the flesh is the way that blood is transported up from the lamprey's scythe tubes to Hux's body. In the final version, you can see that there are more strands of flesh that hang off or wrap around individual segments of the limb. Next, there is the matter of Hux's back. In all three drafts, you can see that the thick, long tube that is attached to the blood tank was originally meant to feed into his head. I had forgotten entirely that this would require the cosmetic to be a linked set, so I obviously changed this detail for the final design. I also gave better definition to the shape of the crystals on his back, rather than just having them appear as one large and messy cluster. I organized them into a spread-out wing-like structure as a reference to the ability vampires commonly have to turn into bats. On the back of his left leg, you can see another smaller blood tank. It is designed to remind the viewer of a blood bag. To the side of this device, you'll see that other tubes feed directly into Hux's body and are held together by a spider webbing of flesh. This is because blood is flowing through most of them and is, as previously mentioned, being transported around his body to help feed its new cravings. Overall, I'm quite satisfied with what I managed to produce. I certainly made the process much harder for myself by using such a detailed style, but I am ultimately glad that I chose to do this. And it's not as though this is the most ornate artwork I've made as Hux either, as some of you may know. More importantly, however, it is far from the last. I love this weird little freak way too much not to persistently attempt to outdo my own artwork of him. As the contest has changed a bit in structure this year, the community will actually be able to vote on their favorite cosmetics come September after the DVD team has chosen a group of finalists. 3 entries from every category will be chosen this year as well, instead of just 1. I would be beyond happy to be selected and have a chance to win, but regardless of how well my entry does in the contest, I can confidently say I am proud of this design, and I hope that you all enjoy it as well. As always, you have my sincere gratitude for your viewing of my work, and I am especially grateful to all those who always express enthusiasm for my Singularity fan art. It really does make my day to read your messages. Thank you.